Good afternoon. You have completed your warm-up through Delta Math. And now we are going to take notes on adding and subtracting radicals. So if you could turn with me to page 7, we're going to take some notes. Okay. So when we add and subtract radicals, the first thing you have to do, you have to simplify any radical. Okay, if it's not simplified, you got to simplify it. Now, when we have a radical with the same index and the same radicand, then we can combine those. For example, if we have 2 radical 3 plus 4 radical 3. Notice how we have the same radical, square root of 3. So we can add 2 radical 3 plus 4 radical 3 to get us 6 radical 3. Okay. Now, if we were to have something like radical 5 plus 5 radical 2 plus 3 radical 5, notice how not all of these radicals are the same. Okay? Here's a radical 5 and here's a radical 5. So those can be combined together. Okay. Now, there's not a number out in front, so we know that's a 1. Okay. So these can combine together to be 4 radical 5. And then this plus 5 radical 2, we can't combine those because these are not the same radical. Okay. So it's very similar to if we were to have like 4x plus 3x, we know is 7x, okay? We combine like terms as long as our radicals are the same, okay? So let's come over here to example 1. The first thing we need to look at are all of our radicals simplified. Radical 6 is simplified. Radical 6 is simplified. Okay. So they're simplified and they're the same. So we can say 3 radical 6 minus 2 radical 6. Well, 3 minus 2 is 1. So we have 1 radical 6. You can write 1 radical 6, but really it's just radical 6. Okay, essentially we are combining like terms. Like 3x minus 2x is 1x. 3 radical 6 minus 2 radical 6 is 1 radical 6. Okay. How about this one? First of all, is radical 5 simplified? Yes. Is radical 5 simplified? Yes. Now, we have the same radical. So 2 radical 5 plus 2 radical 5 would give us 4 radical 5. Okay. All right, well, now let's do ones that require maybe a little bit of work. Okay. This radical 7 right here, that's already simplified. Okay. But this radical 63, it is not. Okay. So let's think about the number 63. I know that 63 has a perfect square of 9 as a factor. I know that 63 is 9 times 7. Okay, so when I take the square root of 9 times 7, that's the same thing as 3 square root 7. And then this 2 is still being multiplied to that square root. Okay, so we end up with 6 radical 7. And then we can bring this guy down here, 10 radical 7. Okay, Now remember, if you would rather take the square root of 63 and break it up 9 times 7, 3 times 3, here's your here's your pair of 3's that come out right here, okay? That is fine. Remember, you do what works for you, okay? I'll keep that. Now, we have 10 radical 7 plus 6 radical 7. So notice how they both have radical 7, so we can combine like terms to get 16 radical 7. Okay, let's look at number 4. Okay, is the square root of 15 simplified? Yes, it is. Okay, so we'll just bring it down here. Okay, square root of 15, all right, minus, we have 6 square root 60. Okay, so I know that 6 square root 60 is not simplified because 60 is 4 times 15. Okay, well, the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, so I take the square root of 4. It becomes 2. So now I have 6 times 2 radical 15, which is going to give us 12 radical 15. Okay, now let's remember that this radical 15 over here has an invisible 1 in front of it. So we have 1 radical 15 minus 12 radical 15, which would give us negative 11 radical 15. Okay. What I would like you to do, I would like you to complete number 5 and 6 on your own. So what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to have you press pause, work on those 2 problems, and then press play, and I'll go through the problem so you can check to see if you did it right. So press pause, do number 5 and 6 on your own. Okay, how did it go? In number 5, you need to reduce both of the radicals, okay? So you need to take the square root of 32 and reduce it because 32 is 16 times 2. The square root of 16 is 4. So 2 square root 32 is really 8 square root 2. Minus 3 square root of 18 is also not simplified because 18 is 9 times 2. And since we know the square root of 9 is 3, we can write the square root of 18 as 3 square root 2 times 3 gives us 9 root 2. Now we do have the same radicals, so we can combine like terms. 8 minus 9 is negative 1. So we have negative 1 square root 2, which we can just write as negative square root 2. How'd you do? If you didn't get it by yourself 100% the first time, it's okay. We got to practice. Okay, so let's look at number 6. If you know you've made a mistake on number 6 based on number 5, pause it, fix it, and then let's go through number 6. Okay, so square root 28 is not simplified because 28 is 4 times 7. Okay, well, the square root of 4 is 2, so we have negative 8 square root 7 plus 4 square root of 112. 112 is not simplified as a radical because 112 is 16 times 7. Okay, if we're adding and subtracting radicals, oftentimes we're going to have a similar number under the radical, so that's something that can maybe help you. Okay, So we know that the square root of 16 is 4. So we have 16 square root 7. Now we have like terms because we have those radical 7s. So negative 8 radical 7 plus 16 radical 7 gives us 8 radical 7. Okay, now let's go to the next page. We're going to look at number 9, okay? What do you notice about number 9? Well, I first noticed that all those radicals are simplified. Radical 10, radical 6, radical 10. I can't simplify those anymore. However, they're not all the same, okay? I have a radical 10 here and a radical 10 here. So those two can be combined together. Negative 2 radical 10 minus 2 radical 10 would give us negative 4 radical 10. And we can't combine it with this, so we just still have minus 3 radical 6. And this is how we're going to leave our answer. We cannot combine those two together. We just can't. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do 11 together, and you're going to see how you do on number 12. Okay. So let's do number 11 together. It looks like 2 of the 3 terms need to be simplified. Okay. 3 root 3, we're good. Okay. But we need to simplify the other 2. So square root 50, well, 50 is 25 times 2. The square root of 25 is 5. So we end up with negative 15 square root 2. Plus, radical 18 is the same thing as square root 18 is 9 times 2. And the square root of 9 is 3. Okay, and we still have that minus 3 root 3. Okay, well, we have like radicals here and here, but root 3 is different. Okay, so we can combine these two terms together. Negative 15 square root 2 plus 3 square root 2 is negative 12 square root 2. And then minus 3 square root 3 can't be combined, so we have to keep it separate. Okay. All right, your job is to pause and work on number 12 and then press play when you think you have an answer. Okay, so all 3 of these have to be simplified. Square root 8 can be simplified because 8 is 4 times 2. Square root of 4 is 2. So we have 4 root 2. Square root of 96 can be simplified because 96 is 16 times 6. Square root of 16 is 4. So we have 16 square root 6. The square root of 24. 24 is 4 times 6. So it becomes 2 square root 6. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. Okay, so we have 2 that are like radicals. 4 square root 2 cannot be combined with anybody. But 16 square root 6 minus 2 square root 6 becomes 14 square root 6. Okay. Your homework is page 9. Do not worry about number 11, but you can do 1 through 10. You have the rest of the class period to work.